All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to another CEJA office hours session. We'll be covering the intake process. We'll be walking through that in the second half of our call here, but there are a few updates I wanted to go over that we'll be releasing tomorrow with our update, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So the first thing I wanted to go over for an update that we have going out tomorrow is the ability for navigators to access for the customer records here to access the uploads tab under participant summary tools. So we can click the button to open our uploads, and we can see, and this morning in test, that navigators have the ability to upload files to customer records. So we'll have that update going out tomorrow night. So come Friday morning, navigators will be able to see and upload files for the customers. Let me see what I wanted to go over next. So that was the first update. The second one I wanted to go over was, I think we might have covered it in last week's session, but we'll go ahead and show where this is. But we're also updating the application eligibility to check for authorized work. So let me show you what that looks like here. Would be, let's see, let's go ahead and add. Actually, you can probably find an inquiry. Let me find an inquiry account here and just fill this in real quickly. Actually, I won't be able to do this in test because there is something we're working to resolve, but well, maybe I can actually find someone who's an applicant already. So let me go over here. Take. Here we go. So in the application, we have added the question, are you authorized to work in the US as a yes or no question. And when we advance to, oh, something went wrong. This might be bad test data, but we have added this as an eligibility check in the application. It doesn't appear in the pre-screening, but it is in the application. And I suspect I just have shows the wrong customer here. Some of the test data can get a little wonky sometimes, but we do have that check. So if it's yes, then they are eligible. But if it's no, then the eligibility screen will say that they're not eligible. And we also see here, refer the customer to a welcome center. And then the other update I wanted to go over is with the service cost report, which I believe, yes, I have this open over here. And let me log in with someone else, actually. Mr. One. Okay, so the service cost report, which we can access when we're in the system by selecting this reports icon here. And then if we filter to CEJA FEJA, we should see, let's see, or maybe we need to, or maybe you don't need to select the drop down here. But the service cost report should be in here. Here we go, service cost report. And we had an issue where we'd have the table load with just calculating all the costs that are entered in the career plan services that have that tab, the dollar value of service. And so all that's compiled here for across all customer services and costs entered. And we have this export here, and this was resulting in an error, but it is downloading and accessible. So we'll have that corrected with the update going out tomorrow night as well. And I'm just checking to make sure there's not any other updates wanted to cover here. Let's see, I don't believe so. I'm just checking the chat here. But yeah, if there's any questions about the updates or any other questions you have, feel free to add them in the chat or unmute and ask away. Or if there's anything you'd like for us to go over, I guess anything you'd like for us to go over that does not involve the intake process, since we'll be getting to that shortly. If there's anything in the career plan or elsewhere in the system you'd like for us to cover, just let us know. I guess then we can go over the intake process here. Okay, so let's see. I am now in the system. So just kind of walking through, adding a customer and the intake process. We'll go ahead and walk through that. So here's the landing page for the CEJA reporting system. And to add a customer, we'll click our add customer button here and enter in our data for the customer, and all fields with a asterisk are required. Enter in the address information. Say that this is an inquiry. We're logged in as a workforce hub. We'll go ahead and submit this here. And then this will open up the pre-screening window. And then we'll get our application consent message here. Check the box for having read the consent to the customer and they agree. So we'll click save. And then we'll be able to fill out this information here. Our first question, do you need any accommodations to complete this pre-screener application, such as translation services, audiovisual accommodations, etc.? We can say yes, no. If we say yes, then we can just enter in the text box here what accommodations are needed. We can see that the information's pulled over here that we entered for name, phone number, email, and date of birth. Check how did we hear about this program? And then we'll answer questions related to eligibility. Are you interested in working construction or the building trades? Are you interested in working in the clean energy field? If so, then we have several checkboxes here for which clean energy industries are you interested in learning more about. And then we have, are you interested in applying for an apprenticeship program? Are you willing and able to put in the time required by this program? And then a question here, if there's any challenges that the customers may be facing that's difficult for them to participate in the training, that they can receive stipends and assistance with that. So are you experiencing any barriers that would keep you from attending the training? And our address information also pulled over. And then we have you ever been incarcerated for a felony or misdemeanor, had prior involvement in the criminal legal system, graduate of foster care or currently in foster care? Are you a displaced energy worker? And do you have other barriers to employment? And then for the demographic questions we have, what racial or ethnic groups best describe you? Veteran status. Do you have a high school diploma, GED certificate, or HiSED? And then below this, we have our customer pre-screening results. Here's, across the different programs, we have these different line items that will kind of predict, the eligibility for the customer here. And if we answer, no or unsure, those would populate here where we see yes for all these items here. And then program recommendation review, we can see based on what we entered, which programs the customers are eligible for. And so in our program dropdown, we have our list here. And since I'm logged in as a Workforce Hub, I'll select Workforce Hubs. And then pre-screening result meets pre-screening requirements, not participating at this time. But we'll select interested in participating. We've got our provider selected, so then we'll just enter the pre-screening date. We'll say today. And then we also have a follow-up date if need be, and if there's any additional notes you'd like to add, that can be tracked in this text box here. But we'll go ahead and click submit. And then we have our window here to add them as an applicant, and we just need to confirm the email address we've entered. And then we'll click the search for existing applicants. And when we click this button, it will look to see one, if the customer is already in the CEJA system, and two, it will also look to see if there's already an existing workNet account, and we'll sync up with that. And in some cases, you may see a message. Sometimes customers have multiple accounts, so you may see a prompt saying that there's a few different usernames that are conflicting with the information that we're adding here. And if that's the case, then there's a note there to submit a help request ticket. And when submitting those, if you could either send a screenshot of the usernames or list them out, that would be very beneficial for me in responding to the help request and resolving the account conflicts. Because in some cases, there's if it's a name like John Smith, for instance, there's going to be a lot of accounts. So having those usernames really helps kind of narrow down which accounts we need to work to resolve. But when we click this button here, we'll see in this case that a new account's been created. And this is the username and password that the customer can log into WorkNet with. And so once we have added the applicant, we'll go ahead and click to complete the application. And this will take us to our tab here for demographic and contact information. And we can see that a lot of the information we entered in pre-screening has pulled over here. So we'll just need to fill in the rest. Do you have a social security number? If we select yes, you can enter the number. In some cases, you might see, if you enter the social security number, you might see a prompt that the social security number is already in use, and that could be because in this case maybe David had another account where the SSN has been entered, and so it's one of the things that we need to kind of work to resolve. But if you do see that prompt, long story short, if you do see that prompt, you can just select yes, but I don't have my card, and we can at a later date add that social security number in. And when we do add that number in, once this is saved, it is encrypted, and in the system we'll only ever see the last four numbers, so it won't be displaying all the numbers of the SSN. Okay, so then we'll scroll down, our address information. Okay, so we've added our phone number, and then we'll enter the primary phone type. If there's a second number, that can be added along with the phone type here. And then we have the question, what sex were you assigned at birth on your birth certificate? How do you currently describe yourself? Authorized to work in the US. And then our other questions have pulled over here. And then the application submit date. We have that field as well. So we'll click save and go to next page. And this is our eligibility check here, and we can see that this customer is eligible. And we'll go ahead and click to continue to intake. And this is the application summary page here, just showing the information that we entered. And if we needed to come back, if we had, a typo in their name, or we needed to update their email address or phone number, we can select this text at the bottom of the box here, return to demographics and contact info, and that'll just take us back to the page we were just on, and we can make the necessary change and click save and return to the summary here. And then down here, we have our application signature fields, and we can sign as the applicant, or we can send this to the applicant to sign, and we can also sign as a case manager. And so if we, signing as a case manager, we can click the button here, and we would enter in the username and password for our workNet account to sign the application. We can also send a link to the customer, and they'll be directed to this page, and then that username and password that was created, or if they have an existing workNet account, they can log into workNet, access the link, and sign the application. And you also have the option, if there's a paper copy that's been scanned, you can upload the signed application. So then you would just attach the file, enter the signature date, and click sign, and then it will fill that out. But for this, we'll select the enter username and password and click sign. And then we can see in the case manager signature and date field that that's pulled through here. And we also can print this page as well. So we'll click return to intake. And so for over here, we have complete application, number 1. If we select the pre-screening information, I'll pull up the window that we entered that information in at the start. The view application completed link, that'll just take us back to the application summary page. And we can also see when the when the application was completed and signed. And then if we have a checkbox here for, if they required funds for completing intake. And if we check that, we'll be prompted to leave a case note. So we'll enter the subject, the text of the case note, and then we'll click to add. And if we added that, by accident, or, check this by accident, we can, always uncheck it and leave another case note here. So case note 2. Okay, and we can see here for case notes that we added, this was 1 and then it became 2. And if we select that, that will just link us to our case notes summary page for the customer, which can also be located under this participant summary tools, this case notes link here. Okay, so number 2, we have the career assessment. So when we click to add this, we'll have a window that pops up where you can enter in this information. We have the assessment date, and then what is your current or most recent employer status? If we select, I've not worked before, this will be my first job, then some of those questions will be hidden. But if we select any of the other ones, we'll enter the hourly wage, employer name, start and end date, job duties for most recent job, and reason for leaving if applicable. But we also have in this drop down here options for employed, self-employed, employed but received a notice of termination layoff, unemployed and have been actively looking for work, and unemployed but have not been actively looking for work. But we'll select I'm employed. I'll just enter in our information here. Signed, okay. All right, so then below that we have some jobs have lifting requirements. Please indicate whether you are able to lift this amount of weight. And then many of the apprenticeship programs require people to stand for long periods of time. Please indicate whether you're able to stand for long periods of time. And then we have a couple drop downs for career goal and secondary career goal. So we'll just select the option from the list here. And then we also have, if we select the last one here, other construction related, then we do get a text box where we can enter the secondary career goal. And then below we have other specific careers that you're interested in pursuing. Select at least one checkbox from the items here. And then we also have a checkbox for I'm interested in learning about clean energy careers. So once we've filled out that information, we'll click Save. And the career assessment we'll see has been added here. And if we select this, we'll get the window summarizing that information that we just entered here. All right, then the next part is the service needs assessment. We'll click this button here. And this service needs assessment will kind of help identify any challenges that the customers may be facing, and kind of the umbrellas of each of these. We have accommodations and student services, technology assistance for virtual learning, transportation, childcare, family member care, assistance with housing, food, healthcare, legal assistance, financial literacy, mentorship, application fees, and other support services. And we won't go through all of the questions listed here, but we will show kind of how this operates. So, we have our questions here, and if we answer in a way where we might need assistance, for example, transportation, do you have transportation concerns that could affect your participation in the program? We can select yes. And then we have our checkboxes here to further kind of identify. So in this case, let's say this customer does not have transportation. And so when we check the first box here, we get the recommendation, which is different, across the kind of different questions that we have in this assessment. But we have review local community action agency, faith-based organizations, or American Job Centers, and links to those pages where those can be found. But if we can offer a referral to another organization and have them kind of facilitate this, address this barrier that the customer is facing. Or we can, if it's something that our organization can provide in-house, we'll select one of the checkboxes under in-house support. But in this case, for transportation, we'll say referrals. And then down below, we have a comment box. If there's any additional comments you'd like to add about this, it is optional, but you can enter that in here. So we'll keep filling out our service needs assessment. And we'll say for this one that they need assistance with housing. So I need financial assistance with housing. And maybe this is something we can offer support for in-house. So we'll say, we'll check the box for rent for in-house support. Say customer needs assistance with rent. All right, and then we'll just fill out the rest of the service needs assessment here. All right, and then when we're done filling this out, we'll click the submit button. If we click return to intake, that will not save what we've added here. So we need to click submit. And then this will take us back to our intake page. And we can see the service needs assessment that we completed here. If we select this, we'll see a read-only view of it, but we'll see our selections for transportation, for a referral, and our comment here. And then for in-house support, rent, and our comment here. So we'll go back to intake. And if we needed to update the service needs assessment, we'll click this button here again, and then we can make the proper selections here. And then again, when we scroll down to the bottom, we'll need to click submit to capture those changes because return to intake will not retain those changes. Okay, so then if I go to progress page here, and let me just refresh this. Okay, so we do have an overnight sync that will kind of refresh this just before this said 11:23, and we had a yellow flag here, but we've made some changes since. So when we refresh this status button, that will kind of update this page to capture the latest changes to the customer's records. Um, like I said, we do have one overnight. I believe it's around 8 or 9 p.m. But as you're making updates in the system, and if you come back to this page and the flags don't look quite right, I would just say to check out the timestamp here, and if it's not up to date, you can press refresh status, and you should see some changes there. Okay, so intake, we're good because that's looking at a completed career assessment and service needs assessment. And yeah, and so then referral status, we'll need to send a referral for the transportation assistance. We can see that this needs attention here. And then this would be in the career plan where we address in the service needs assessment. We said the customer needs assistance with rent. That would be addressed in the career plan. But for referrals, what we'll do is select the tab here for referral. And we'll click the button new referral. And what we'll do is, I don't believe, yeah, so we need to tie an organization in contact to the referral we're sending. And so if we click search organization, I think this is a relatively new organization we have and for testing purposes, but we can see we don't have anything added, so we'll need to add an organization. So we'll click the button for new organization. We'll select provider here, and we'll say organization A for name. You can enter a description if we like, but that is optional. And then we'll enter in our phone number and address here. And then we'll click save. So we've added it over here. And then when we go back to search organization, we'll see that that is listed here. Click select. And so then we have finished step one. And so then step two is tying a contact to the organization. If we select search, we won't see anybody, so we'll need to add a contact. So we'll click this button here for new contact. And then we will add in our information here for our contacts. That's name, phone number, email, and the job title. And we'll click save. And then we've added the contact, but we still need to select them here. So now we've added the contact here. And then step three, we need to identify the service needed. And we'll need to select, it was transportation, I believe. So we'll select the checkbox for transportation. If there's a further one you'd like to select, you can. And you can also add additional notes here. And we'll submit the referral. And what'll happen is the contact that we added will receive an email. And in that email, they'll receive a link to respond to the referral. And the contacts don't need a workNet account to access the link and respond to it. But they can update the referral status to show that they've initiated assisting with the service need, and completed it and so forth. And when they update the status here, that will update over here. And if they're not, you know, maybe they are assisting the customer, but they just didn't respond to it in the system, um, we can resend the referral, and so then they'll get a second email with that. Additionally, if maybe they just are not responsive and to the referral, and on the progress page it's still showing as yellow needs attention, what you can do is you can close the referral. That's kind of the override. So we can say David completed the requested referral for transportation assistance for this customer. And so when we close the referral, you can see that it's closed. And if we go back to our progress page and refresh the status, we should see that this updates to green. Yep. So we can see that this is now good. And
with the referral, if it's yellow, they have the update to where.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that was an accident.
No worries. And let me see here. Oh, another thing too is, if you add a referral and maybe it was for the wrong customer or a different, you need to cancel it. You can click the button to open this window here. Click the cancel referral, and then you'll just need to enter a reason here. And then as the status of the referral gets updated, if the referral contact responds, starts to initiate services or completed it, that'll be captured here with the status, any notes, and then the date that was updated over here. And then let me see. So that's referrals. Let me go back to intake here. And let's see. We have customer status here for application. So the customers don't become enrolled until a service has a status of started open. But we haven't added any service, so they're going to remain an applicant. If the customer, you're kind of going through the intake process, but the customer says they no longer want to participate, you can check the box here that the customer will see that this has updated to not enrolled, declined to participate. And if it was accidentally selected, we can uncheck that and then go back to the status of applicant here. And then before mentioning transfer, there are a few other things just to note. Down here, we just have some language here for how customers can access their career plan and workNet account. And this checkbox here is just letting them know the features and how to access their career plan. And then off to the side, and really on every page, once you've selected a customer record here, we have information off to the side. This first section, profile, this just shows the information for their workNet account, email, date of birth, last four SSN if entered, their workNet username, which is what they'll log in with, not the email address tied to the file, but the username. And we have their phone number, most recent credential, not applicable in this case, their status in the system, their address, their workNet ID number. And if we need to, reset their password, if they're having trouble logging in, you can click the button to reset their password. And the next time they log in, they'll have to update their password. And then under participant summary tools, we took a look at a couple of these. There's the case notes page, and then the uploads. If there's any uploaded files that need to be added to their record, those can be added there. And then these other tools are really kind of more into the career plan. I don't think we need to quite go over on the call today. And then down below, we just have additional links to instructions and resources. And let me just go back to our progress page again. refresh this just to see if there's anything. And we do have next to these kind of bolded items here an info bubble. If the flag's yellow or red, if we select the info bubble, we'll get, kind of we'll get a small window here just showing, kind of explaining why the flag is the color that it is. I think everything else is a little bit further on in the system. But I'm going to check the chat here, see if we had anything come in. Oh, thanks, Natasha. See, there's the document added for link to the service needs assessment. And I do see a couple hands raised. It looks like the first one is Brianna.
Alrighty, can you hear me?
Yep, I sure can.
Perfect. So I wanted to, I don't know how to, okay. I'm not able to get anywhere near the intake screen. I know that we discussed last week, and my supervisor discussed more with Nate about some of the issues that we were having with certain options that you select. It's not allowing us to get that username and password. So I tried a different selection, which was after seeing that the person that I had enrolled, they were eligible for the Workforce Hub. I selected Workforce Hub and then Joliet just as a tester. But even selecting the, I don't want to say the correct option, but the other options that are available, I would have assumed that that would generate the username and password, and then I would be able to get to the secondary screen, or like the intake and the assessments are, but I am not able to get to that at all.
Yeah, so let me go over here to our pre-screening window. So for example, okay, so can you see the list of options and under program that I got
Yes.
pulled up here? Okay. And so in this case, you were selecting, or which one were you selecting?
Um, Definitely Workforce Hubs, and then for the provider, I did Joliet.
Okay. But then it was showing under pre-screening result, maybe not per that they're,
Yeah,
let me
for the
change this.
person, yeah, for the person it was a test run, but they aren't able to participate at this time, so I did select that option.
Participating. Okay. And then, yeah, we might need to connect outside of this to kind of troubleshoot. I know in some cases there was a help request I responded to, I believe this
Mhm.
morning,
Mhm.
where there was someone who was not showing up as eligible for workforce hubs, and that was
Mhm.
because this question, are you interested in working in the clean energy field? If
Mhm.
that's a no, then that kind of automatically, at least for workforce hub, shows that they're not meeting the pre-screening requirements. But if you want to send me a help request ticket with kind of those customers that you're kind of not able to proceed forward with, I can take
Mhm.
a closer look because it could be something where one of the questions is not um, meeting the eligibility criteria to move forward, or it could
Yeah.
be a separate issue.
Yeah. How do I submit that help desk ticket?
Yeah, which is actually something I should have covered. So yeah, when we're logged into the system,
Mhm.
um, we'll just select our username in the upper right corner and then help request. And then that will take us to our help desk here. And you can add a new request or a ticket by selecting this button here, new request.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then under help requests, yeah, we can fill out, it does need
Awesome.
assistance adding a customer. And then description, you can, enter, more information. You can include a screenshot and, kind of information with the customers, your customer or customers. Um, you can also attach a file to the ticket here. And
Mhm.
then for category, um, we'll need to select it sounds like in this case, workforce hubs, but definitely select CEJA. Because otherwise I probably will not see it, because we do have other people responding to help request tickets. And I know that has come up in the past before where
Mm-hmm.
some people were wondering where I hadn't responded to tickets. And but yeah, definitely select a CEJA category. And then subcategory, we have a few different selections here, but in this case, adding the customer.
Mm-hmm.
You can copy members of your team to this via email, and then you can just enter your name, your email address, and then just a few more questions. Are you a partner or provider? We'll say yes. Organization, LWIA. If you don't know your LWIA, you can select 0. I don't think it's too important for our purposes. And then phone number. We'll enter that. And then if this issue is related to a specific customer, if it's not already identified above, you can select yes and then enter the customer email and then name.
Okay.
And then in some cases, it's not as common anymore, but in some cases, there's sometimes browser specific issues. And you can just add which browser you're using when if you're having any issues. If you see a big red error or something looks off, or you need assistance adding a customer, you can submit a help request for all these items there. And then we just have a checkbox for, is the issue keeping you from moving forward? And if there's any additional notes you'd like to add, you can add them here. And then we'll click create. Oops. Oh, I didn't add those there. We'll click create. And then, yeah, when you reach this page, this will just show any tickets you've submitted, and you can kind of see, their status here, and the information about those tickets. And when the ticket is submitted, I receive an email, and I check the tickets, a few times a day. And when I respond, you'll get an email with my response, and we can kind of troubleshoot that. But when we click this, if we're in the system, we click this, we can see as we respond, we'd be seeing our conversation in history right in here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you
Okay.
for mentioning that.
Thank you as well.
Yeah. All right, there's another hand raise, Annette.
Hello.
Hello.
Quick question. Is
Yeah.
there an easy way to update referral information for a referral that's already been put in the system? And maybe there's like a change of email address?
Let me see here. So yeah, let me just send another referral here. Kind of walk through what we might need to change here. So then we'll say legal aid. Okay. All right. So if this was the referral we needed to update here. Let's see. We could, I believe, change the service that would, well, no, I guess we couldn't. So I would say no, but if a change of address as far as like the organization that we're sending the referral to, or maybe the point of contact, is that?
The point of contact.
Hmm. In that case, I think what we would do is um, we would send another referral. We would cancel this, canceling due to contact info change. We'll click cancel. And I think if we refresh this here, it should say, yep, canceled. And then we can enter the new one, and maybe it's the same organization, but it's not David, but it's someone else. We can enter that new contact information and select them there, and then check the referral that we need, and we can submit it that way.
Once you cancel that referral, is it still going to show up in the database or will it disappear?
Let's see. So we have canceled now, but if we go back to progress, I think it should. Let's see if it'll show up here. I might run through that again if it. Yeah, so let's see if we. So it looks like if it is canceled, it will not show on the progress page, which I think is okay.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
I think what she's asking is if we put the new contact information for their organization and we are putting that same organization in there twice. Once we do the update to the new address, is it going to have two organizations in there with the same name but different addresses? Or will it override it?
Oh, so yeah, if there's for example, if there's the referral organization, this information hasn't changed, we can continue to pick from this, and we could add as many contacts as we wanted to it. But if we needed to update the organization's address information, we would need to add a new organization. There's not a way to update this one here, change this information here. So we would need to add a second organization, if that answers your question.
It does. I was just hoping that it will take the incorrect one out because now we'll have two of the same organization with different addresses and we wouldn't know which one is the correct one if we're somebody that didn't make that change.
Right. And we are working on kind of a larger, like a more kind of robust and referral tool that will replace this at some point. I'm not quite sure on the kind of.
But David, is this something that maybe they should submit a help desk ticket for, and then we could have Jerome or somebody remove it from the back end?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, if there's an organization or contact that needs to be removed, you can submit a help request ticket, and then we can have that removed. I don't think that would. I think we'll just have to be sure, and this is me thinking out loud. We'll just have to make sure that doesn't kind of break anything for any previously submitted referrals. Which I don't think.
Or hide it or something, just so it doesn't get selected, or put something in the, I don't know, at least a temporary fix until the new referral system is live.
Right. So yeah, if there's any organization or point of contact that needs to be hidden, you can just go ahead and submit a help request, and we can have our programmers hide that just to kind of prevent any mix-ups.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think. Let's see, no questions in the chat, and I think we addressed the hands that are raised. We got about 10 minutes left. If anyone has any questions or things they'd like for us to go over. Let's see, and I don't believe the RAs are at an in-person event today. We don't have anything from them, but if there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and get this recording posted to the partner guide page today. And if anything comes up, please feel free to reach out to us or submit a help request, and we'll get your questions answered. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.